The game of Rise of Kingdoms is made up of the community. That's what makes the game. And we want to put out a guide for free to plays and low spenders because that is the majority of the community. That's what drives the game. It doesn't matter how much money you spend in the game. If there is no community, there is no game. And that's why the overwhelming majority of players are free to play and low spenders. And we want to help you because I have a super soft heart for free to play and low spenders. You can ask anybody that's been in a kingdom with me. I am extremely generous and I appreciate what they do. So stick around while we go through a guide of what it takes to be a really good free to play and low spender and how you can maximize your investment of time, all your energy, and all your efforts right now. Hey everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chadsky. I do these videos all the time and I love doing guides and nuances and little things that help out the community, give you real rock life application. If you enjoy these videos, please throw a thumbs up on it. They tell me it's amazing for the almighty algorithm, whatever the hell that is. But if you're not subscribed, consider doing so. It doesn't cost you anything. And you can also hit that bell if you want to get alerts to any kind of content like this that I put out. We're putting a lot of investment into the production. We're investing back into the community. We just did a massive giveaway, and part of that, on the heels of that, I want to do a guide for free to play and low spenders because I have seen some of the best players, most valuable players in the highest kingdoms who don't even spend that much, if at all. And they do things that are amazing in KVK. They prep themselves, they do what they're supposed to do, and they maximize their time and efficiency. So we're going to go through kind of a guide, 10 things you got to look for as a free to play and a low spender. So I'm going to put up this list and I'm going to add to it, and we're going to talk about each one kind of one by one. The first and foremost thing you've got to do is be active. You have to have good activity. An off season with events, your AP, your farming, everything that you do, okay? And with that, you have all kinds of stuff that you can work on. You've got events over here going, Soroli Crisis. You can't miss these events. You know, Silk Road, Soroli Crisis, the Karok Ceremony, all these different events that come around all the time. You got to try to maximize. You know, you've got little rewards here for different things. You've got the Peerless Scholar. You ought to be doing the quiz every day. Those are easy ways to get good value, get speed ups, get extra resource tokens, get all the things that you need. Okay, and so activity is crucial. You got to be active, and there's nothing better than looking up and you go through and people are running forts all the time, and you even got Itachi, one of the biggest krakens in the game, running forts. Okay, so as a free to play and a low spender, your activity is extremely necessary. Okay, and then your AP, you never, whatever it's 1700 as your cap or 1900 as your cap, doesn't matter what your cap is, you need to always make sure your action points are running at all times. You know, you drain those down and you go do different things with running far or running forts, or you do things when you're chaining and doing those different things. So there's all kinds of different ways to be able to run your AP down, keep it down. That way you're maximizing the value on what you bring. Okay, and so from there, the second thing that we need to look at is your farming aspect. Okay, this is something that's very, very important. You need farms. You need anywhere from 4 to 5, 7, even 10 farms. This helps you with the RSS, your resources, and it also helps you in KVK with filling. Having a bunch of farms, and it's easy to go get a farm to City Hall 25. And it's easy to work on farms to get them to where you're doing the tech, and the tech is actually able to give you T4. As long as you have T4 troops, you can fill anything you want. Being able to fill structures in KVK is so valuable. And if you're a free to play or a low spender, and you have a good impact in the field, you know, you run 3, 4, or 5 marches in the field, but you're able to fill with farms, that is such a value to any kingdom. And being able to take those farms in off season and go put them in farm alliances and go do your RSS. Okay, we'll talk about the RSS and troop types of different things later, but having farms is meta in this game. It's meta for the KVK fights and farm filling. It's meta in off season when you're farming your face off, trying to get all the RSS you need for KVK. Now, if you're a free to play or low spender, you're not running up, you know, 4 or 5 6 billion kill points, okay? But you're there when your kingdom's got to have you, and you don't need an insane amount of billions of resources to go be very effective with your account in KVK. And so with that, having a handful of farms, you'll get everything that you need, okay? And so that's one thing we wanted to do. And while we're talking about farms, okay, the next thing is that this is what you want to do. You want to use your main to farm gems, and you want to use your farms to farm RSS. This is very, very important. When you're in KVK and you can go farm gems, you have got to use your main to go farm gems, okay? And then you got to use your farms to go farm all the different things. You're in Home Kingdom, you ought to, like, we got people farming gems right now. You ought to have an easy way to do that with your main. You've run all your AP, just run your farmers down into this zone, and then just make sure that they don't come back, or have a timer set up to make sure that you can go from gem to gem node and rack up the gems. Gems are everything. Gems help you as a free-to-play and low spender, and there's nothing better than being able to farm gems and get those on your main. You have to do it on your main. You can't do it on your farm, because you can't transfer gems from one account to the other. So that's one of the main things you want to do. Use your main to farm gems. Use your farms to farm RSS nodes, okay? So the next thing the fourth thing that we'll talk about now, you want to utilize those gems that you get for the best value in events. I have egg and wheel on here. Two of the best value events that you can get. I'll show you the wheel right now. And this is all about trying to work on commanders, getting commanders, doing what you need to do to try to get the best commanders in the game. There's always tier lists in here. So even if you can only do 10 spins with the gems that you have to buy the gems to get the tickets, you can at least get some heads from doing certain tiers. 5 gold heads here. If you've got enough gems to where you do 45 spins on this particular event, that is great value to go get 10 extra heads, and then the heads you get while you're spinning. Okay, it's the same thing with the egg event. Everything in Rise of Kingdoms that's based off of equipment, it is so hard to get materials. These materials are so hard to get, okay? And the egg event that comes around every 4 weeks in your kingdom is the best way to do that. So having gems to be able to run up the tier levels on the egg event is extremely valuable. And that is a great investment of your gems in everything that you do, okay? The fifth thing that we'll talk about that is not super popular, okay, is chaining. Oh my gosh. Guys, listen, I am an extremely high level player that spends a ton of money, and I've got marches out here chaining right now. I always have my chin and my huo in Home Kingdom chaining. I'm just always there, always chaining, always be chaining, be able to grab 2 or 3 barbarians and an AoE effect, get your chaining going. It always gives you the best value with your AP. Now your AP you want to run with forts. We know that all good kingdoms run a lot of forts, but the best value you can get is chaining, period. You can get great rewards. Let me show you here. Here, I've got this list going on right now, and you see the different things. And this is just one chain. This cost me 30 AP points. That's it. And for 30 AP points, I got a 5-minute. That's 50 minutes. That's another 10. That's an hour and 10 minutes worth of speed ups that I got just using 30 AP, along with all the tokens that you get. Chaining is exceptional. Now in KVK, it is off the charts. You have to chain for honor. You have to chain to get crystals for tech and to do different events. You got to chain. There's all kinds of ways to do that. But if you do any chaining at all in Home Kingdom, when you get into KVK, it is even more important to get as much chaining done as possible. I know people don't like it, it's time consuming, but at the same time, if you're not doing anything, you can always have your game open, always have a chaining march out, open your game, go hit a couple of barbs, close your game, and walk away. Like right now, I can walk away. I know I'm going to chain this and I can walk away. You can always be chaining, okay? Number 6, and this is really, really important, okay? You do not want to overextend your marches, all right? Now, when I talk about overextending your marches, that is what I mean by your commanders, your gear, and your armaments, all right? What I mean by that is one of the most common questions I get of players starting out their accounts and growing their accounts is they want to get as many marches on the field as possible. That's not the best answer, guys. That's not the best way to go about it. All right. You want to put out the best marches you can. And then when you're ready to add another march, you can do that. But the last thing, if you run like 3 marches and you want to go to a 4th, the next thing you know, you're running like a Zuge and I don't know, you're running like a Zuge Herman as your additional march, and you look up at your gear and it's all blue and epic material or blue and epic equipment, and your armaments aren't necessarily great, then you don't want to run that in the field, because as a free to play and a low spender, you got to watch your speed ups and RSS. And running a scuffed march in the field, even though it's an additional march that you really want to get on the field, it's going to cost you in healing, speed ups, and resources like crazy. So just be careful when it comes to that. When you're ready to go to an additional march, you got to be ready. You got to have legendary gear ready to go. Your current gear that you're working on needs to, I'll have players that literally have epic accessories, and they're like, Chatsky, I want to go to another march. And I'm like, bro, you got to get your current accessories to the legendary tier. It's the best investment you can make on your gear, is getting legendary accessories, and it's expensive. You don't need to go to another march. So it's always being aware to not overextend your marches, and the same thing with commanders. You do not want to overextend commanders. All right. If you can find good value, like right now, Sun Tzu came into the game. He is like at the highest of importance when it comes to how valuable and powerful he is. All right. And so players can literally min-max invest him 5-5-1-5, and they can go run him really, really well. But just because you have him 5-2-1-1 doesn't mean you need to go run him. Okay. And so from there, you got to make sure your commanders are ready to go. You don't want to add a march if you got a scuffed commander that is not where they need to be, either on a low budget 5-5-1-1 or 5-5-5-1, or as an expertise commander. You don't want to go run commanders with a whole bunch of scuffed skills, because you're just going to get wrecked. It's going to cost you. All right. You can be more effective fighting longer with 3 marches than you could fighting with 4, and just you're running up your resources and your speed ups like crazy through the hospital. So just think about that when it comes to your marches and trying to overextend. Okay. The 7th thing we'll talk about, and this is really important and kind of cool if you really think about it. All right. 2 troop types is the easiest to do. It's easier on tech, and it's easier for your farming. And what I mean by that is, if you're growing your account, or let's say you've been playing the game a while, you're free to play, and you run like 1 archer march, or you run 1 cavalry march. Okay. Let's say you run 1 cavalry march and you're still running a Huo Arthur. Okay. But you run 2 infantry and you run 2 archers. Okay. Well, you got to put a lot of investment for cavalry to upgrade your cavalry from Huo and Arthur, or from Huo and Arthur, to go get like an Achilles, or to go get a Gang, or to really work on your gear. And sometimes it's easier, whether you're building your marches up or you're deciding you're just going to go to 2 troop types, it's easier because it does multiple facets. Number one, your production, you're going to stick to the materials that you actually need for the troop type that you've got. And number 2, you are going to be able to farm with your farms the resources you need. If you run infantry and archers, okay, if you run infantry and archers, you don't need a whole lot. You need a bunch of wood, because infantry and archers both take wood, but you don't need a whole lot of food or stone at an infinite level, right? You're going to run through food more than anything, because to heal and train, when you heal and you train, let's say we're just training cavalry here. Cavalry uses food and stone. Okay. My archers, they use wood and stone and no food. Okay. And that's the same thing when you're fighting in KVK and you're healing. So you can really focus on your RSS production when it comes to your farming if you're only running 2 troop types. Okay. And then probably one of the most important aspects is that when you get into KVK tech and you're over here and you've got the different KVK tech going on, and you can look at the different KVK tech. Let me see, skip through here. Do they give us the tech? You're running through this stuff. They've made it to where you can get really far into the KVK tech tree without being a big time spender. As a free to play and a low spender, you can get deep into the KVK tech tree. And if you're just running 2 troop types, you can just focus on that. There's not a whole lot of prerequisites. And so from there, you don't have to worry about it. So you can get not only not only with your RSS, with your materials that you're doing, but also in your tech. You focus on 2 troop types, you're going to make those 2 troop types even better with your tech in KVK, because you can really ramp up the tech that you do if you're active and doing all those things. You don't have to worry about a 3rd march. You don't have to, or a 3rd troop type. You don't have to worry about a 4th troop type if you're going to do siege or something like that. And so from there, those are all different ways that you can do that when it comes to a free to play and a low spender. Okay. The 8th thing that I will talk about. All right. And this is really, really one of the most important things when it comes to free to plays and low spenders, because they'll tell me all the time, the equipment tier investment. Okay. And I don't just mean the awakening tiers. I mean the critted tiers. All right. You are not going to rally in garrison, which means you don't need to run the stuff that I run. Okay, in the field. Okay, this is all tier 5 stuff, right, guys? And you don't need to do that in the field when it comes to some of this stuff, because it is so expensive to awaken to tier 5, to awaken some of this stuff. Leave that for the rally and garrisons. You get the benefit from them, because if you're filling rallies or garrisons, you get the benefit of what they do, what they have. Okay, in the field, it costs way too much. As a free to play and a low spender, do not fall in that trap. Getting to tier 2 on your equipment is always really, really good. It's really, really cheap. It gives you extra stats. Okay, but trying to get to tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5 costs so much when you can use those materials to get another march. You can use those materials to start your next equipment set, or you can use those materials to try to get something critted you want to get critted, or more importantly, to get your accessories forged. That they cost so much to forge accessories. So don't fall in that trap of trying to be a rally and garrison player as a free to play and a low spender. You use your materials to forge equipment and to get it to tier 2. If you can get lucky on crits, great. Otherwise, you want to get accessories, you want to get a full gold set, a legendary set, and then you want to move on to the next one. That's what you want to do. Do not fall into that equipment trap when it comes to the tier list on your equipment. You're not going to be a rally or garrison. You don't need to mess with it. And that's one of the things you can look at. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is activity in KVK. This is super, super important. Okay. What people have to understand when it comes to your activity in KVK. All right. Your activity in KVK, you can farm fill, you can help out your leadership, you can do a lot of different things with all your farms. You got to be active in KVK. You got to be valuable to the team. Okay, if you're a free to play and low spender and you got a lot of farms and you're hardly active, maybe for the first few hours of a zone fight and that's it, you're just not bringing any value to the kingdom. So you got to be active. You got to be willing to farm fill. And I even put on their anchor, like something as simple as like having one of your farms way down here in the zone 4 of a KVK, a Lost Kingdom map. And when your war leads are trying to pin rallies, just say, hey, I got it. I got your pins, because you've got another device that's got that farm up, and then you just pin rallies. Basically, when they launch a rally, you pin it. You're the one that pins it. With like a siege march, it takes an hour to get there, and they can pull the pin anytime they want to launch the rallies. Stuff like that with farm filling is the easiest way that you can be very, very valuable as a free to play and a low spender. It is very, very easy. Of course, you got your main and you're going to go fight in KVK, and your activity is needed for your kingdom, but you can also do things with your farm filling. You can do things to help out, maybe R4 some of the different alliances that you have shells and you're fighting out of in KVK. There's all kinds of things you can do to be a good player, a good free to play, and a good low spender in the game. Okay. And lastly, which we kind of touched on this, we want to talk about one thing and one thing only. And this is the reason why I make it very, very important to get good guides when it comes to commanders, because the 10th thing you'll see on there is commander investments. As a free to play and a low spender, you do not have the luxury, and I'll just pull this up. You do not have the luxury to have William Wallace maxed. You don't have that luxury. You don't have the luxury to have CJ maxed. You don't have the luxury to have Hector maxed. You just don't have the gold heads. It's just impossible, but you don't need that. You need to focus on the most important high power commanders. Like you take a commander like Luce, he's been meta for over 2 years now, and he's still meta today. So that is a commander as a free to play and a low spender. When they come out, part of my job as a content creator and helping you with your accounts and helping everybody is telling you, like, you got to go max this guy. You have to max this guy. He's going to be in the meta for a long time, and it will be a great investment for you as a free to play and a low spender, because when you spin the heads to max out a commander as a free to play and low spender, you want a commander that's going to be in the meta for multiple years. Okay, Nevsky was one that was 3-year meta, right? 4-year meta. Joan, 3-year meta. We had Huo in there, 2.5-year meta. You want commanders that are at least going to last a couple of years. BQ, great investment from last year. He's going to be in the meta for at least another year. Luce, still in the meta. I would almost put him above BQ. He's going to be in the meta for a long time. Arthur's been out for over a year now. He's going to be meta, and he's going to be in the meta for at least another year. Okay, Gang, and that's why I see commanders like Gang and commanders like Shajar, and these are skippable commanders. You don't have to invest in them. All right, Achilles comes out, he is gonna be in the freaking meta for a long time. If you're running cavalry marches, you want to work on this guy. He's not going anywhere. And now recently we got Sun Tzu. Guys, I'm telling you, Chen and Sun Tzu are the two commanders that are gonna be a part of the meta for years to come. Okay, so that's my job as a content creator, to tell you guys, like, this is somebody you got to go max. And I was skeptical about him with the true damage and how that worked, but now that we figured that out, now that we know the pairs, now that we know what he does, I came to you with a video last week saying you got to max him. If you're a player spending, you got to max him. If you have the gold heads, you need to max him. If you're a free to play and a low spender, he's a commander you can feel safe and have peace of mind about, that you're going to put heads into him and he's going to be meta for a few years. Okay, and that's the main thing. You don't want to chase these other commanders. You just don't want to do it. You don't want to run scuff marches and chase commanders that are going to be out of the meta within a year. You don't want to do that, okay? And so, with that being said, that's kind of your list of the top 10 things as a free-to-play and a low-spender guide go, as far as what you got to look at, what you always got to be aware of, and really help out. If I'm missing anything, get down in the comments. Tell me what I'm missing. Help me help you. And so I love interacting in the comments. Of course, you guys know I love it when you guys engage with my videos and give a like if you enjoyed this video. Also, don't forget to join my Discord. That's where so many questions come into play. And the beauty with my Discord, guys, it is so positive, non-toxic. Anybody can go in there. It doesn't matter if you just started the game. Go into my Discord. You start asking for advice in my Discord, you're going to have a community of people. I got 10,000 people in there, and they will give you advice. They'll help you. Everybody in there understands. It's like the prerequisite of being in my Discord. You can't be an a-hole, and you can't be somebody that's greater than thou, righteous in the game, that you know, basically pisses on players that just started, that's learning the game. You got to be somebody that's willing to be in my Discord and give advice, because we've all been there and we all remember what it was like. That's the last thing we need, is people getting made fun of for asking a mundane question. That stuff gets asked all the time. And so with that, join my Discord, be a part of that community. And like I said, if you guys like the video, throw a thumbs up on here, consider subscribing. Love doing these guides. And if you have any other questions, get down in the comments. And I hope you have a great day, broskies.